This is the Dallas Cowboys Pepsi Postgame Show. Pepsi, proud partner of the Dallas Cowboys. Now, here's Zach Wolchuk and Bryan Broaddus.
Snap to McCarthy, first down. Looking right, throwing right. Easy touchdown to Jalen Naylor inside the pylon on the right side, and the Vikings expand their lead.
34-26, the Vikings improving to 6-8 on the year. The Cowboys 6-7-1, and the 2025 season falls at home here. Statistically, still alive, but this one's done as the Cowboys lose a game they had to have on Sunday Night Football at home against the Vikings. And in the second half, they were able to score 3 field goals, and they missed one.
Yeah.
A lot of settling for field goals. They go 2 of 12 on third down. We're going to break this one down for you until 1 a.m. Zach Wolchuk alongside the Super Bowl winning scout Bryan Broaddus, Miller Lite Field Club here. We'll hear from Brian Shottenheimer. Of course, Dak Prescott. We'll get your calls and texts, 877-881-1053 on the official postgame show brought to you by Pepsi, made for Cowboys watching. And if you want to use for the pros, use Jack Black is the official men's skincare brand of the Dallas Cowboys. Visit getjackblack.com today. Dak Prescott had really no chance in the second half. Nate Thomas leaves. He's got a shoulder injury. Hakeem Adeniji is fighting for dear life. He's getting beat like a bad habit. You got Terrence Steele on the other side. Spin moves are his worst nightmare. He's getting beat. Javonte Williams, maybe one of the lone bright spots on offense today. He comes back, battles from a shoulder injury, and might have also been getting evaluated for a concussion. He goes 15 for 91 and a touchdown. But you were atrocious on third down, Bryan.
Yeah.
3 of 12. First off, that also means you were bad on first and second down.
Right.
They love their second and long runs, so I don't think it was particularly a great day for your play caller yet again, although we gave Brian Flores a lot of love coming in, and
sure
he deserves it.
Yeah.
Certainly a challenge to play against, but your offensive line didn't play well. You weren't able to finish drives. You weren't able to sustain drives. And defensively, wow, just an inability to stick with what seemed to be working for you. J.J. McCarthy looked like an all-pro quarterback today. And it's too often that the Cowboys defense is making quarterbacks have their best game of the season. Again, they give up over 30 points. Again, they can't get off the field. I believe it was 6 of the last 7 drives, and I'll go back and check this, that Minnesota scored on.
Yeah.
So it's just, it's unacceptable. And early on, we talked about this, Brian, it seemed like they had success when they sent pressure. They're able to get that first turnover of the game, the interception.
Right.
Donovan Wilson tips it. You got Quinnen Williams with an interception. They're able to get the fake field goal to sustain that drive. They score a touchdown with Javonte Williams. First time since Week 7. Week 7, They've scored an offensive touchdown to open the game. Their slow starts have crushed this team all year long. But defensively, I don't know what else you're supposed to do. We can go through and look at how many of these players on defense should be back and starting next year. Mm-hmm. I think that's totally fair to say. They tried to get better. They added Quinnen Williams. You get Revel back. He was a bright spot, I thought, on defense. Logan Wilson, I still saw a lot of 59 out there on the field. Thought we were going to get more Logan Wilson. Sure. Might have gotten ball sacked on that one, fellas. Mm-hmm. But I don't know half the time what Eberflus is thinking. And rushing 3 on fourth down and dropping into coverage certainly wasn't going to be successful against this quarterback. You've got to get pressure. And this team could not do it by rushing 3 or 4. And when they did blitz, it seemed like it was more successful. But your defensive coordinator, this was a fireable offense today. The whole year has been for the most part. I know Brad said to be kind. I don't think you can be kind when your season's just been lost again. And the offensive play calling, I think, also very questionable. But, Brian, Flores did it again.
No, I appreciate your honesty about this. And, watching the football game with you up in the press box, there's so many levels on this team that are maddening, frustrating. When you start to really, look at things. Going into this game, you knew all week long we really kind of talked about how the different looks. It really wasn't Minnesota's defense that was the problem. It was actually Minnesota's offense. And you let them off the hook tonight. Yeah, now, listen, Justin Jefferson didn't kill you tonight, but you just allowed their quarterback, who had been struggling really all year long. He was dealing when he dealt with pressure. He never felt comfortable. But, you allowed him to sit in the pocket, and he is one of the quarterbacks in the league that when he's making downfield throws, one of the least accurate quarterbacks. But you gave him no reason to not be accurate in this football game with the way that you allowed him to stand there and make throws. And that's unfortunate. Whereas their defense created pressure really all night on Dak Prescott. Even with compromised offensive linemen and stuff like that, Dak was struggling with having to deal with the various the blitz packages and stuff I'm really interested when we get the next gen stats here in a little bit, about 30 minutes after the game. How much though did they really blitz in this game? How much man coverage did they play? How much zone coverage did they play? Because it clearly affected Dak Prescott tonight. It affected the offensive line. When he was able to make a couple of throws, when they did block it up pretty well, you were able to get the ball down the field. Second game in a row, you really couldn't get George Pickens going, which, the Vikings kind of felt like that they had some guys that could cover. But the pressure and not allowing Dak Prescott, and it really, I think it messed with Dak. I think it messed with the offensive line. I think it messed with the play caller. But the defense to allow J.J. McCarthy to feel as comfortable as he did in this game was a huge reason why they lost it. And we could talk about, that Dallas didn't have any turnovers, but me personally, when you miss a field goal and you give somebody the ball at the 41-yard line or the 43-yard line, that's like a turnover right there. That's a turnover. You're giving the ball right there. And there were a couple different times where Minnesota was able to take that and catch that into points.
No, I mean, you look at where the drive started for Minnesota. The 47, the 41, the 42, the 49, the 39. Yeah. They had outstanding field position, and it really started when Kevontae Turpin decided not to play the ball on the first punt of the game, and now you're pinned back at the 1-yard line.
Yep.
And now, so you get a little bit of breathing room with the Hunter Lipke 8-yard gain. Now you punt, and the Vikings are going to start, from their own 47. What happens? They score a touchdown. So the field position battle again was lost today. The one big return you sprung from Turpin, there's a holding call on C.J. Goodwin, so that has to come back. Now, we'll go back and look at it. In the moment, I didn't think it was really a great call. I didn't see much there from C.J. Goodwin.
Yeah.
But that's another player who's here for special teams. How many special teams plays has C.J. Goodwin made this year? Yeah. In fairness, right? And that's taking up a roster spot. So
the one guy that shows up on special teams is Span Ford. I know.
And Elijah Clark.
And Elijah Clark. Yeah, you're right. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, you're right. I mean, but defensively, we applauded them and we gave them praise, and rightly so. Philadelphia, they're able to get stops. Yeah. The whole second half, they get off the field. Yeah. They're able to get big stops against Kansas City when they needed them. Obviously, Detroit, it didn't happen. And while I do think, and I think that the whole thing about the personnel is accurate, clearly you've got a bad fit with your defensive coordinator and the players that you have. Deron Bland is a man corner. Savone Revel is a man corner. You've also got, we know about Diggs. We absolutely know about Diggs as well as a man corner. And I don't know that Diggs if he'll be back or not.
Right.
We'll see.
Got one more week.
But, man, you're not helping your guys. And when it comes to just allowing J.J. McCarthy to stand back and survey the field, and the one time Kenny Clark gets pressure on him in the second half, boom, incomplete pass, right?
Yeah.
Trying to get it to Justin Jefferson.
Right.
So it just he didn't have an answer.
Yeah.
And it does feel as though when certain things are working, you get away from it. So to me, I don't love that the one hire that seems to be their biggest miss was not the one that the head coach made.
Yeah.
And I think that you need to do, I get the whole consistency, the continuity debate, and I felt that they're not going to make a change in that position because they have stressed that to us so many times throughout the year. Third defensive coordinator in 3 years.
Yeah.
At some point, though, if it's not a fit to your personnel and you don't see the needed improvement from the play caller on defense, you have to make a change in that regard going into next season.
Yeah, and I think this is something that, and you're not wrong about this. I mean, I think this is a conversation that, you've got the Chargers game.
3 games left.
3 games left, and I'm sure when we get to the end of the season, I'm going to say this. I do believe that, and I'll just leave it at this. If they do make a change, it'll be because because Brian Schottenheimer wants to make a change. I don't think it's necessarily, and I think you're absolutely right. I think with Jerry Jones, Stephen Jones, I think they're like, listen, let's try and keep the continuity. Let's not keep having a revolving door here. But if Matt Eberflus wants to make a change, and earlier in this game tonight, when they had to use a timeout because of some sideline problems with the defense, and you see Eberflus looking over at
and it
Flus
shot
like,
it looked like
what the F are we doing? That kind of thing. So let's let this thing play out that way. And tonight we try and kind of figure out the issues. But Minnesota, give them credit. We knew coming into the game they were going to muddy looks, give you a lot of different problems with some of their blitz packages, with some of their pressure. It didn't help that at times Williams got knocked out of the game. Hunter Lipke got knocked out of the game. Nate Thomas gets knocked out of the game.
Adeniji has to go out there.
And then, there was a time when Tyler Smith got knocked out of the game for a little bit. So those things don't help. And I'm not trying to make excuses for anybody. But, man, when you're trying to play against a team that does so many multiple things, front-wise, scheme-wise, pressure-wise, that's a difficult task to ask.
And Dak had been really good against the blitz. Wasn't tonight.
They got after him tonight.
We'll see the numbers.
But,
And also on third down. Dak usually is able to bail you out. Didn't happen tonight. We'll break down a lot more of it. We'll hear from Bryan Shottenheimer here shortly as we're waiting for him to take the podium. We'll also hear from Dak Prescott. Of course, your calls and texts, 877-881-1053 as the Cowboys fall at home to the Vikings, 6-7-1, or your 2025 Dallas Cowboys. Zach Wolchuk alongside the Super Bowl winning scout Bryan Broaddus. You're listening to the Dallas Cowboys Radio Network.
Miller Lite, the legendary light beer.
Connecting changes everything. Tito's Handmade Vodka is America's original craft vodka. WinStar World Casino and Resort, proud to be the casino of the Dallas Cowboys. Please game responsibly. Sleep Number, the official sleep and wellness partner of the Dallas Cowboys. And by Miller Lite, the only beer of the Dallas Cowboys.
Van Ginkel and Grenard shared the spot, so for the lead, Aubrey from 59. The kick has got all kinds of leg, but he missed it wide to the right.
Brandon Aubrey missing 2 field goals tonight. He had missed 3, courtesy of Bobby Belt, our Cowboys insider, at home in his entire career. Misses 2 this evening. And again, Cowboys settling for way too many field goals tonight. And if you're going to keep settling for field goals, eventually, especially with this defense, it's going to come back to bite you. 34-26, Minnesota comes to Dallas and gets a Sunday night victory. They had been eliminated from playoff contention earlier today with how the afternoon games went, so they already really didn't have anything to play for. You had everything to play for, and you lose at home. The Cowboys falling to 4-2-1 at home, 6-7-1 on the year. Zach Wolchuk alongside the Super Bowl winning scout Bryan brought us the official postgame show of your Cowboys, brought to you by AT&T. Connecting changes everything. 877-881-1053, the number to call, the number to text, 877-881-1053. But let's visit with our Cowboys insider, Bobby Belt. And Bobby, what was the mood as the players headed into the locker room?
It's somber. I mean, they were very silent and just, kind of stoic. But Jerry came out and he was very clearly a little. I don't want to say he was on edge, but you can tell he's disappointed and irritated about where things stand right now.
What was the biggest problem tonight, in your opinion? Obviously, offensively, you failed on third downs. You had to settle for a lot of field goals, play calling issues. But on defense, it continues to be what feels like stubbornness by your defensive coordinator and an inability to make any adjustments and maybe going away from what is working to just kind of fit your style of defense.
Trenches, that's why you lost tonight. You lost because, you had some difficulty blocking up what Minnesota wanted to do. And then on the other side of the ball, you weren't getting enough pressure. And if you don't get enough pressure, not only on J.J. McCarthy, but on any quarterback in the NFL, this secondary is not good enough. And they got worked over tonight. But just in general, I think it was that the Cowboys pass rush was not good enough against a Vikings offensive line that has not been good this year. They've had problems protecting. They've got one of the highest pressure rates allowed in the NFL. They've allowed one of the highest sack rates in the NFL. They've got a quarterback who holds on to the ball too long. These are all things that should equal up to you being able to generate pressure. And it's 2 weeks in a row that you've had a seeming advantage on the interior in the trenches with your defensive line, your interior defensive line against their interior offensive line, and you have just not been able to do anything.
Kind of feel like that maybe edge rusher, when we start to talk about things for the draft, edge rusher might be one of the things that we kind of focus on. I know there's other things that we've kind of talked about defensively with linebackers and safeties and stuff like that, but that edge position might be one that we focus on a little bit more. Bobby, if I could do something for you here, the metrics came out after the game, just to give you an idea. When McCarthy had over 2.5 seconds to throw, he was 10 of 14 for 187 yards, 1 touchdown, no interception. When it was under 2.5, he was 5 for 10 for 63 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception.
Yep, that's if he's able to just kind of stand back there and look at it, that's great. He's able to have success doing it that way.
Yeah, I feel like, to your point, that's exactly where, and I know you and Brad, guys like that, were kind of talking about his ability to stand there. Metrics will tell you that he was 3 of 6 against the blitz, 41 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception.
And I'm pretty sure he had 5 attempts against the blitz at half. So, you're talking about
probably 6 blitzes total.
I think you probably blitzed him. Yeah, I think you probably blitzed him 1 time in the second half.
And that's 52 offensive plays the Vikings ran.
Yeah.
And they blitzed 6 times.
Yeah, now obviously that metric's only going to show blitzing against the pass.
Okay.
Right.
But, run blitz is not included.
Yeah, he was 12, no blitz, they say. 12 of 18, 209 yards, 1 touchdown is what they were saying against the no blitz today.
Just 6 out of 24 passes.
I just sent audio back to the producer, so I'm sure they're going to have it here in a sec, and I time-stamped the times that he talks about Eberflus. But, Jerry got asked he does his gaggle of media there, and then as he's walking off, he gets asked a couple more questions. And so John Machota from The Athletic, had said, essentially, are you still confident that Matt Eberflus is the right guy for the job? And he didn't just say yes like he normally does. And then at the end of it, he said, that's a fair question, though. And I think that tonight had to be a bit of an eye-opener. Or I think it had to be a little bit of a realization for Jerry and this defense.
Yeah, when and Zach brought up the points, throughout and about the scheme, the players, and all that stuff like that. Me personally, Bobby, I feel like that if there's going to be a change at defensive coordinator, and really that probably doesn't need to be the focus tonight or right now, but if there needs to be a change, that's probably going to come from Matt Eberflus. Excuse me. I keep saying that, Matt Eberflus, Brian Schottenheimer. I think Brian Schottenheimer is the one that's going to have to walk into Jerry Jones and say, listen, I feel like we need to make a switch here.
Yeah, I agree. It's going to have to be him saying, look, this is what I need. And look, I think that Brian Schottenheimer looked pretty frustrated with some of the stuff that was going on defensively tonight, so I'm sure he's not happy about this. Some of this is 100% personnel. In some instances, they don't have good enough personnel.
Yeah.
In some instances, the personnel that is good enough isn't playing well enough. And then in other instances, it feels like schematically you're being put at a disadvantage. And this is a scheme that is similar to the one that 6 years ago when you walked away from Rod Marinelli that you said, we don't want to do this anymore. And if you're going to keep this defensive coordinator, you're probably going to have to swap out a lot of parts on defense and find people who are more fit to doing what he needs.
Offensively, obviously, they only put up 26 points. They kicked 3 field goals in the second half. They missed one. We know Brian Flores is one of the best defensive coordinators in football, and you mentioned the struggles along the offensive line. But one calling card of Dak throughout his career is he's able to bail you out about as good as any quarterback in football on third down. He's been great against the blitz. What stood out to you offensively tonight that really put them in a position where, despite the defense, they had no shot of really winning this game?
Yeah, it's trenches on the defensive side. On the offensive side, it was trenches again. They were able to generate pressure consistently. He was pressured on more than half of his dropbacks tonight. And a lot of the stuff that they like to do with George Pickens is running vertical routes with him and doing things like that. He wasn't protected long enough to get him off a lot of times. And there were times where Dak would do a thing to evade the rush. A couple of the big plays they had were just miracles that felt a little fluky. Dak kind of flipping one as he's getting hit, and Schoonmaker catches it with one hand and runs down the field. So they had a couple of those. But, this was just Minnesota's pass rush, and the way they get after the quarterback was better than your offensive line again tonight. And, it was kind of across the board. I think everybody had their struggles at different points, but specifically, I think this team really needs Tyler Guyton back as soon as they can get him. But, at this stage, it's kind of settled that it's long odds that you're going to be in contention for a postseason spot.
They had 11 different players on defense get a pressure tonight.
Yeah.
They had Van Ginkel had 20 rushes, and 6 of them resulted in pressures. Eric Wilson, the linebacker, had 16 rushes. 5 of those were pressures. Harrison Smith had 9 rushes. 4 of them resulted in pressures. Jonathan Gennard, he had 25 rushes, but he had a sack and 3 pressures.
Yep.
So, I could just keep going down the list of guys that somehow were able to generate a pressure on Dak Prescott tonight in this game.
Yeah, they generated plenty, and you'll see there, that's the blitz. As I see you're looking at those metrics. Harrison Smith with those 4 quick pressures, that's somebody just screaming off unaccounted for. And you said it, I can't remember if it was during the pregame or when we were sitting up in the booth, but you had said, this team gets more unaccounted rushes than I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
And that's what they do. That's what Brian Flores is really good at. Now, it's got its drawbacks. If you can block it up long enough, you can take shots on them. They were able to do that tonight. When they threw the ball 20 yards in the air, they had success doing that again. But you don't get many opportunities to do that.
Well, and I'm looking on the Dallas side of things. Of all the players that played defensive snaps tonight, Dallas had only 4 guys that got pressures tonight.
Yeah, and 2 of those guys only rushed the passer 3 times each.
Yeah, that's right. Dante Fowler and then Overshown. Those were the only other pressors.
Blitzing Overshown. That could be a good thing. Bobby, thank you so much. We love you.
Love you all.
There he goes, our Cowboys insider Bobby Belt after a 34-26 Cowboys home loss to the Vikings. Bryan Shottenheimer talking to the media. We'll hear from him. We'll hear from Jerry Jones. Brad Sham will be stopping by. The postgame show rolls on. But let's pause 10 seconds for station identification across the Dallas Cowboys radio network.
Your turn it on, leave it on. Home of America's team is 105.3 The Fan.
Hello, baby.
KRLD-FM and HD1, Dallas-Fort Worth.
An Odyssey sports station.
Alrighty, 34-26, Cowboys all but eliminated. Not official, but sure feels that way. Dallas Cowboys football will continue in a moment.
Cowboys fans, here's the game plan. Touchdown Tuesday at Take 5 Oil Change. Just
doors for a new family tradition. Plan your stay at visitportaranzas.com.
McCarthy is under center, hands the ball off to the running back. No, he kept it, and he bootlegs in all alone, and he walked the dog. Touchdown, McCarthy faked out all of the defense and me. What a great ball fake that was by McCarthy. Oh, my goodness.
Really was. I mean, it was shades of Peyton Manning and calling his own number when the Broncos and him and Romo went back and forth here at AT&T Stadium. As J.J. McCarthy fooling everybody on that run as the Vikings come into Dallas and play spoiler. 34-26. Minnesota gets the win. Cowboys falling to 6-7-1. Mathematically not eliminated, but it sure feels like all of their chances of getting in losing, falling with this loss here today. Zach Wolchuk alongside the Super Bowl winning scout Bryan Broaddus. And Bryan, we actually did get a text question about
real
that.
Real quick, though, if I could say, Cowboys against the NFC North 0-3-1 this year, right?
Wow. Losing Chicago.
Yep.
And then you dropped the home game here to Minnesota last week at Detroit. And then, you got the tie against Green Bay. And you lose at home to two teams that probably are going to finish with losing records. Arizona for sure.
Yeah.
And now Minnesota. Yeah. So those are two really bad losses. At the time, it seemed like the Chicago and Carolina losses were bad. They've obviously gone on to have tremendous seasons. But certainly you look back and you missed pretty much all of the opportunities that you had in front of you. Yeah. You did not make the most of those. Now, we did get a question about that McCarthy run, and this might be one where, hey, you got to go back and check it out, watch the tape. But the 510 asked, could you and Bryan talk about who was supposed to set the edge when McCarthy scored on the touchdown on 4th down?
Somebody came flying down inside, and it might have been Ezraku.
Might have been.
Because that would be the right side. He scored going to the offense's left. So usually Clowney will play the left edge. Ezraku will play the right. It looked like it was something like really, really, really quick. Houston, Ezraku, one of those guys went flying down inside. Hell, it might have been Sam Williams, too. It happened that quick.
Yeah, it was a fail. Great ball fake there from McCarthy, but still. All right, let's hear from Jerry Jones after this 34-26 Cowboys loss to the Vikings.
What part of tonight's loss bothered you the most?
I think that the fact that we were making field goals rather than getting some touchdowns instead of those possessions, and that ended up biting us, especially when we missed the two that we missed. But I think our inability to not keep them out of the end zone, and that was frustrating.
Why do you think your defense is taking a step back?
Well, again, I want to say that we let their quarterback have an outstanding game, and I thought we could do more about that rather than to let him. I think that's pretty telling that when he has the kind of game that he had, that we weren't be able to do really mitigate that.
How difficult is it to accept that reality that at this point is a pretty huge long shot?
Well, I don't know that you accept it. You just, but I sure am going to live with it. But you don't have to accept anything. But they're out there competing with their guys too, and this can happen to you. We didn't expect this. I really thought we'd come out of here with a win, so I'm very disappointed. But I thought that we would play better against Detroit, too. So really, when I look back at both games, this is a letdown. I know it is for our fans.
What do you want to see from Matt Eberflus over these last 3 weeks defensively?
Well, I'd like to play better defense, and that at the end of the day, that's what he does. And from the standpoint, I know Matt, of course, individually since he's coached here for many, many years. But I thought we made some adjustments tonight. They handled them pretty good in Minnesota. So again, we did some adjusting. We did more adjusting. If you notice, their style is that they get up, put a lot up there to look at, and then they mix it up, bring some out, take some out, and put some in, so to speak, while it's all going on. We kind of do it different philosophically. There's one today tonight.
Because every year you've had to change defensive coordinators. Do you still feel comfortable that Matt Eberflus is the right guy?
Again, this is not, with games remaining, the adjustments that we should be making should be with this year, these next 3 games in mind. They should not be being made, and with 3 games left in the short time we've got to play them in, then that will impact any adjustments that you make regarding coaching at the time frame we're dealing with.
There's Jerry Jones, your owner and general manager after 34-26. Cowboys loss at home to the Vikings. Let's welcome in the legendary voice of your Cowboys, the great Brad Sham. And Brad, as you've had, some time to kind of divulge what we witnessed here tonight, we've talked a lot about the defense. But offensively, you settled for a lot of field goals, and you were really bad on third down. What did you take away from the offensive performance tonight?
They weren't good enough, but it was going to be tough against Minnesota. They scored 26 points, and if you assume Aubrey will make one of the 2, they scored 29. That's pretty close to what Minnesota's given up. And they found a running game in the second half. I thought Minnesota did a good job on Pickens, but because of the different pressures, you kind of had to use tight ends in protection. And then when you lost Lipke, that didn't help anything. And what Jerry said was 100% right. Sometimes the numbers lie, Zach, and sometimes they don't. And tonight they didn't. Were they 2, Bryan, or 3 out of 12 on third down?
2.
Yeah, so that's non-competitive, 2 out of 12. And that's why you wind up scoring field goals and poor in the red zone. But I think that is I'll give Minnesota some credit for that, because if you look at for the year, they were number 3 in the red zone.
Absolutely.
And so that's not – the offense didn't play well, Zach. They didn't do what they had to do because you had to score more touchdowns. But they scored 26 points, and that is enough to – and they're in the game until the last –
Right.
But if you cannot affect – it wasn't so much that they scored 26, it's that they gave up 34.
Yep.
And that's because, in my opinion, they could not affect the quarterback, I would say.
That's a big point there.
80% of the time, maybe 90. They didn't. They did a good job until right at the end on one run of not letting the running game beat them. But they could not affect the quarterback, and all you have to do is watch any tape of the young man to know that if he's got time to play 7-on-7, he's really good. And they did not affect him. I thought they would, and they didn't. And that, to me, was the biggest problem, because as with all the offensive problems, and they were there, they were real, but you can win with that offensive output if you don't give up 34.
Yeah, no, I agree with you 100%. Defensively, they allowed Minnesota to score after the interception, the punt. 6 of 7 drives, not including the end of half and the kneel down. They got points on the board.
You can't have, bless his heart, if Kalen Carson's the best they've got, you've got a problem. And I don't really want to hear about Diggs, because Diggs hadn't played all year, and I don't know that Diggs would have been any better. And that is really this is the forum to talk about Diggs and what you guys do 5 days a week. But I don't know that having Diggs out there would have helped them, but having Carson out there didn't help them. So your problem is essentially, this is my opinion, that you play that way on defense because you don't have enough good players. You don't have enough good pressure from outside, and then your secondary is a problem. So if you think of some of the balls that McCarthy completed with Bland in close, tight coverage, I wouldn't say Bland played poorly, but the
quarterback's just completely unaffected, and he's got a chance to fit it into tight spaces.
To your point, Brad, it looks like to me that they had 7 total pressures tonight.
That's not enough.
As a pass rushing unit. And I thought after the game when you and Babe were tying it up, I thought that was an excellent point. That the fact that their inability to create, and coming into this game, a lot of it was what pressure Minnesota could put on you. The question now became, look what happens when you go after J.J. McCarthy. Look what makes him, when you look at his numbers, 5 of 10 when blitzed, and so, he was a guy that coming in that hadn't really had much success throwing the ball down the field. He had guys open, just wasn't able to make those connections. Tonight, that was a completely different story with him being able to see the receivers and then make those throws.
I don't know how many times they blitzed, 1 or 2 maybe, but maybe it was more than that, but it didn't seem like very much. But they didn't get home.
Yeah.
That's for sure. And they don't have the personnel yet to win with 4. And now, they lost Quinnen Williams for pretty much the second half. So that doesn't help, because if he's in there, then your other tackles can do different things than they can do when he's not in there. And that wasn't good.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, they need corners and pass rushers. And yes, they need linebacker. But here's another thing, Babe and I were talking about this. Overshone and Rebel were not going to be their best at any time this year. They didn't get on the field until the middle of November. They didn't have OTAs. They didn't have training camp.
I know Overshone. I think we oversold Overshone myself.
Or overexpected.
We overexpected that he was going to come in and immediately be the guy that had 2.5 sacks against Philadelphia.
And you know what? And next year he might be.
Yeah.
But to expect that of him this year was ambitious. To expect it of Rebel, who'd never played in the NFL, that was probably our fault. If we expected that. But I mean, I don't think that I did. I didn't know what to expect. I'd never seen him play. I'm impressed with what I see of him, by the way. But I think he'll be good next year. But it's easy to see, in my opinion, it's easy to see where they need better players. Vern Lundquist texted me after I was with you guys a couple of weeks ago, and I said, good players are better than bad players.
Right.
And Vern texted me. He said, I learned something listening to your postgame show.
There you go.
I that good players are better than bad players. 4
tight window throws tonight for McCarthy in this game.
4.
3 of them.
Out how many attempts?
24.
26 cover snaps is what Bland played in this game. So he had 3 of the tight.
I'm sorry, where are these stats coming from?
This is the Cowboys get this thing, this next gen.
Yeah, from the league. That's a league stat.
Yeah, from the teams. The teams get this thing. So
okay, great.
This is the post-game stuff.
Yeah. Okay.
So they had 3 tight window targets on Bland tonight, and then 1 on Overshone, and that's really kind of where you're at with the tight window targets.
Yes, just the players that they have, generally speaking, are not good enough. Chargers will be tough. They can win that game, but they're going to have to play better because the Chargers are still playing for something. And, I still think whatever they can do good in the last 3 weeks will help them going forward, because most of this team, the bulk of this team, will be the team that will be back. But you clearly saw tonight, I thought, where you had to get better.
Yeah, I kind of feel like this, now that with this loss, I kind of feel like find a way to win the next 3, because you're looking at it as a situation where Schottenheimer, you want to go into 2026 with the thought of, okay, we built on some things, some of the things. If you go in there and lose, say, the last 4 games, and then there's that sour taste, and there's things that, he wants to say and do in 26, then all of a sudden it's like, he said that in 25. He said that. And so it's about skins on the wall. It's about credibility. It's about belief. And even if you don't make the playoffs, finish the season on a positive note.
Absolutely.
So then the off season for 26 you're right. There's going to be guys not here anymore, but there are going to be a lot of guys that are here.
By the way, when you talk about credibility, to me, I'm not concerned with whether he has credibility with fans, because fans don't really know everything what they think they're looking at is not what they're looking at. What he has to have credibility with is his players,
right?
And he has to have better players. And then I think he's shown us enough to think that if he has better players, he probably will do a pretty good job.
Brad, thank you so much, sir. Happy first night of Hanukkah.
Same to you.
Go light that menorah,
Going home
sir.
and light a candle.
Absolutely. There he goes, the legendary voice of your Dallas
So we're
Cowboys.
going to play day games on
we get
the rest of the way?
We got day games the rest of the way.
We get a noon game.
Maybe noon games all the way. It's noon on Christmas.
There you go.
Christmas.
And there's a pretty good chance that the Cowboys-Giants game will not be a primetime game
you're right.
at the end of the year.
Could be nooners the rest of the way there, Brad.
All right, boys.
Take care.
Be careful.
Are you ready to learn a new game and invest like the pros? Don't worry. Even the pros were rookies in crypto once. Blockchain.com makes buying, selling, and trading crypto easy. Invest like your icons with Blockchain.com. A stinker of a loss, 34-26. Cowboys fall to the Vikings. You've been waiting patiently to sound off. We'll hear from you. We'll hear from Shoddy, Dak, and more. You're listening to the Dallas Cowboys Radio Network.
Throughout time, man has expressed himself through dance. The Charleston...
DallasCowboys.com and on the official Dallas Cowboys app.
Mason, now the running back. McCarthy fakes to him, rolls to his left, throws on the run into the end zone, and it is caught. 2 slick plays for the Vikings. The touchdown is caught by Jalen Naylor, and the Vikings are an extra point away from tying the game.
Yep, 34-26, Minnesota, the latest to put up over 30 points against Dallas as the Cowboys lose at home. Sunday Night Football, 34-26. Zach Wolchuk alongside the Super Bowl winning scout Bryan brought us here from the Miller Lite Field Club at AT&T Stadium. Cowboys falling to 6-7-1. They needed to win out. Hoped the Eagles could drop 2 of their last 3. Well, they took a big loss here at home. I don't think mathematically officially eliminated, but you can probably kiss your playoff dreams goodbye. 877-881-1053, the number to call, the number to text. 877-881-1053. You just cheered for America's team on the field. Now see them on the reels. Cowboys themed casino games developed by Aristocrat, now at a casino near you. Aristocrat, a proud sponsor of the Dallas Cowboys. Do you have a gambling problem? Please contact 1-800-GAMBLER for 21 and over. A lot of people texting in, and our boss Gavin Spittle as well. It was Maris Leofau who crashed inside.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. I knew it was somebody screaming off that edge.
On that McCarthy run. All right, let's get to the phones. I know a lot of you have been waiting very patiently. We appreciate you as we had to get to Bobby and Brad and Jerry. We'll hear from Shotty and Dak coming up in a moment. Plus, Trayvon Diggs also talking to the media. But getting to the phones, and we've got our friend Laura calling in from Philly. Laura, I know you're not doing well. I'm not doing well. How are you?
You know, it is what it is. Good talking to you guys, though. Thanks for taking my call.
Thanks, appreciate that. Yeah.
Oh, God, this is like chapter 5 or 4 or 5 of, struggling quarterbacks looking like world beaters against our defense. I mean, goodness, we went to overtime against Russell Wilson, for crying out loud.
Yeah.
I got to imagine Jerry's going to make a change, right? I mean, this has been a historically bad defense. He's not getting any younger. And give me some sort of hope here. Like, it's too early to name names, but, if Brian Schottenheimer is able to bring in a defensive coordinator, like, what's the profile of the type of guy that you think would be a good fit for the system?
Well, that's a great question. Because what's going to happen, Laura, is that, and by the way, I've said this, I've gone on record, I think if they make a switch at coordinator, I think it's going to be Brian Schottenheimer, the one that's going to recommend it. I don't think it's going to be Jerry. I think Jerry's disappointed, but I think he wants Brian Schottenheimer to come in there and say, okay, hey, listen, I've got somebody in mind. Now, we need to think about what teams potentially could be changing coaches. Mm-hmm. Could there be a defensive coordinator out there? Could Cleveland make a switch and all of a sudden Jim Schwartz become available? That's a possibility.
Yep.
I don't know if there's some other, maybe there's somebody on one of these staffs, a young guy that you kind of like that might be an up-and-comer that, we need to kind of dig in on that a little bit. Could be a guy from the college ranks. How about a guy like Matt Patricia, who's at Ohio State? And I know here we are having names as we're, with 3 more games to go, but I do feel like if they do make a switch, Brian Schottenheimer, I believe, is the one that's going to spearhead this thing when it all's said and done.
As he should, because, to my knowledge, that's the one hire that he didn't specifically get the okay and make himself, right? He gets hired, and the Cowboys have a history of liking former head coaches as their defensive coordinators, and they hit gold with Dan Quinn.
Yeah.
I thought Zimmer, look, it'd probably be a different story if you had been able to get Zim back, but for understandable reasons, he wasn't interested in that. He wanted that coach.
He wanted to be the head coach.
He didn't get a look.
And again, you're throwing names out there. Again, I'm throwing names out there for Laura, and with a guy like with Matt Patricia, is that an odd front? Is a 3-4? Are you going to have to make a switch? Do you have personnel? Whatever coach comes in, if they do make a switch, is going to have a say on where this roster goes defensively. That's kind of why your roster is the way it is. That's why Maris Leofau can't play. Now maybe he's not playing because he's not doing his assignment. He was just trying to go make a play. But Maris Leofau under the Mike Zimmer administration,
they loved him.
Under this administration, he's a guy that primarily plays special teams.
All right, let's get to Adam in Roanoke. Adam, you're on the official postgame show of the Dallas Cowboys.
Hey, first I got 3 points. First point is, hey, happy Hanukkah. I lit the candles tonight, said a blessing, even that in a prayer, and of course it wasn't answered.
Yeah.
Second thing, I'm going to come to the defense in a second. I'm very disappointed. Why sign Pickens if we're not even going to run a max protection package and let him fly up the field a couple times? 0 attempts, not 1. Yeah. All summer I listened to you guys tell me about how training camp, how he can't be beat. He can't. No one can take him one-on-one deep. But we don't even go to him. Okay, I got to change it up now. And here's what's maddening. And I know my boy Zach here is going to agree because I hear him and I like what he says. I don't know what a fireable offense is with this coordinator. You got boat raced by the Cardinals. You got boat raced by Carolina. You get boat raced by a bunch of teams over and over. This is like a Pop Warner defense against the high school football team. Because when they go out there, forget about pressures and blitzes.
Sure.
They just sit in the same package. Mm-hmm. They don't even try to confuse the other quarterback.
That's right.
I mean, you know what? And Zach will say it, and you'll say it too, Brian. Throw in a couple 0 blitzes, and if you get burned, at least you're trying to do something different.
Yeah.
The maddening thing is whacking your head against the wall 100 times, and then you keep doing it 10 more times. I
100% agree, Adam. Thank you so much for the call. I actually said that exact thing to Bryan as we were walking back to the
I will say this, though,
from halftime.
We have to be fair. We've defended him before, too.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with what Brad is saying. I still stand by what I said at the beginning of the year. That this personnel's not good enough.
The personnel was not good enough. We have to be fair about it.
100%.
Yeah.
But I do think the additions they made at the deadline to get a guy like Quinnen Williams, and 100% what Brad said was fair. The expectations for a Savone Revel and a DeMarvion Overshone, you don't know what you were going to get from those guys, right? So you got them back healthy, and you hope that would benefit. But it was probably unfair to think they were going to be some magic elixir to just fix all of your issues. The thing that frustrates me is I'm just not seeing – at some point you've got to, as a coach, you need to see what do I have and try and – your asset is try and put these players in their best positions to succeed. And I am not seeing that enough. And to continuously give up that amount of points to bad offenses. I mean, Jacoby Brissett lights you up. This is the first time J.J. McCarthy has thrown for 250 yards since he was quarterbacking the Michigan Wolverines. It's unacceptable.
Yeah.
And I do think there is a talent deficiency. But I also don't think the marriage right now with the personnel and with the coordinator is a good fit. And I think that I think it was a bad hire to begin with. I think Eberflus has been put in a tough spot because this isn't necessarily the personnel that he's best suited to work with. I think the players are probably put in a tough spot. But it's also it goes back to the top. They have not built the roster well enough on the defensive side of the football, and they hired somebody that they probably didn't do enough of consideration of does he fit our current players?
Yeah.
And the answer is no.
Do the current players fit anybody's scheme?
Yeah, I think that we saw
because it's a group of 3 different coordinators.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes. But I felt better about this group under the last 2 coordinators, under Zimmer and Dan Quinn. And I get the last time we saw them under Dan Quinn, they get obliterated by Green Bay. But that was at least one calling card of DQ. Was with injuries, with whatever he had to work with, he found a way to make Marquise Bell into the best version we've ever seen him be that 1 year under DQ, playing him at linebacker.
Yeah.
Jaron Kearse has not worked out anywhere, finds a way to find a role for him, right? Playing Bland in the slot. I get Bland doesn't want to play outside. Bland's a better player in the slot. He just is. The 2 plays tonight, I know Brad said he didn't think Bland played that bad. He might not have when we go back and look at it. But to me,
4 receptions out of 6 targets, 58 yards, a touchdown, 1 pass defense, 3 tight window targets.
He was a guy that was always locating the football in the air. He's not turning and looking for the ball.
Had an interception. He could have had an interception on that one if he did turn around for the ball.
Just too many things now. And yeah, I mean, I think when you go through the list, none of these linebackers outside of Overshone to me are starting caliber. as of right now. I think both safeties could be replaced. I think all the corners outside of Revel and Bland's going to be here. Probably you could upgrade. Defensive line outside of Ezaraku, I don't know anybody that you're keeping here. And Osa and Quinnen Williams. We don't know what's going to happen
no
with
pressure
with Kenny
from
Clark.
Osa, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and Osa has really had probably his worst season.
Yeah.
It's a player issue, but I don't think the coach is necessarily helping things either. We'll get back to the phones. We'll also hear from Shotty as well. Dallas Cowboys football will continue in a moment.
From retirement planning to insurance, SWBC has customized solutions to help individuals and businesses.
This is the Medal of Honor. Plan your visit today at mohmuseum.org.
This would be 51 for Aubrey. No fake this time, and it's going right, and it stayed right the whole way. And Aubrey, uncharacteristically, well, he didn't want it to run. They wouldn't let him run, so he missed wide right, and the Vikings have a short field with a tie game.
Yep, short field. Minnesota making the most of that as, yet again, I mean, this is probably third game in a row. It felt like special teams, field position-wise, definitely favored the opposition. One other layer why the Cowboys fall tonight, 34-26. They're 6-7-1. Vikings improving to 6-8 and 4-4 away from Minnesota. Zach Wolchuk alongside the Super Bowl winning scout Bryan Broaddus here in the Miller Lite Field Club after a disappointing Cowboys Sunday night loss. We'll get back to your calls here in just a moment, 877-881-1053. But let's hear from the head coach of your Cowboys. Here's Brian Schottenheimer.
Calvin Watkins, Dallas Morning News. Brian, what was the issues with trying to finish drives tonight for you guys?
Third down. Calvin, you go 2-12 on third down. I thought they did a good job with their blitz packages. They had us confused a little bit. That starts with me. Got to do a better job with that. Give Coach Flores and his staff some credit. But it comes down to third down. Now, we were pretty good on third down, or fourth down. But, you can't go 2 for 12. Situationally, we didn't play very good tonight offensively. We weren't very good on third down, and we weren't very good in the red zone. And that's why you see us struggle in the second half. And that's kind of where it starts.
Defensive pressure, I think Kenny Crockett was saying it's tough to bring him down, even though he's been sacked 9 times coming to this game. Why do you think he has some issues trying to get McCarthy?
Yeah, he's athletic. I want to look at the film first, Calvin, but he's athletic, and I thought he stepped up a couple times and made some nice plays, but, strong lower body guy, that's real, and I think he's a hell of a competitor. He made the plays. I think that's a big thing for us tonight is we didn't make the critical plays when we needed to. And when you look back on this game, I feel like we kind of let one slip away because there were some good moments, and unfortunately we did it at an inopportune time.
Clarence said DLLS Cowboys. What were they doing to take Pickens away?
Yeah, again, a lot of cover two. A lot of different technique things. They change their coverage up a lot. But again, there was a plan to try to limit our explosives, and I think he had 6 targets and only three catches, and that's not enough. And that starts with me and the offensive staff. We got to find ways to get him the ball better.
You were very aggressive in the first half. Certainly the fake field goal, and I think 2 or 3 other fourth down conversions. Third quarter, I think you're up 23-17, and you try to 59-yard field goal rather than try to pin them deep. Do you second guess that? Or
no. I actually said it in there, Clarence. Again, we're spoiled with Brandon Aubrey. You know what I'm saying? What a great player. But no. Felt really good about it. He's such a great player. I had no question in my mind he was going to make it, and I feel good about that decision.
Brian, Todd Archer with ESPN. You said you guys were confused a little bit of their pressure looks. What confused you? Was it new stuff that they were throwing at you tonight?
It was a lot of all up looks, and then they were checking out of it, and they did a good job. And that's what we talked about this week with you guys, like that veteran defense, and that system is very difficult, and they executed tonight, and we didn't.
You look at the big picture now of where you guys are. What's the goal, I guess, with 3 games to go?
Yeah, the goal is to wake up tomorrow. We'll watch the film tonight. Wake up tomorrow, coach these guys up, and we're going to control what we can control. And disappointing. We didn't find a way to win this game. I knew this would be a game like that. I wasn't surprised by that. Kevin's a great coach. Brian's a great coach, and unfortunately, this game came down to the fact of our inability really in the red zone and some of the situational stuff. We weren't very good on defense on fourth down. We forced, I think, 3 fourth downs, and they converted a bunch of those. And at the end of the day, when you play, a team like this, you got to be, really on top of your situational stuff, and we weren't.
Yeah, I mean, I do think the in-game decision-making, some of the in-game calls, on fourth down, 4th and 3, they decided to kick the field goal. They actually took a delay of game. It's 4th and 3 at the Minnesota 18-yard line, and at that point, it's 23 20, I believe, was the score. 23-17, Cowboys are leading. You got a chance to really go in there with a touchdown, and you feel like you might put this one to bed, but instead you settle for the field goal, and now it's, you're up by 6.
Never felt like you were in any type of control of that game, though. Yeah. I mean, never was.
I mean, I wonder if when Shotty looks back at it, does he feel like he should have been more aggressive at certain points? But he's absolutely right. I mean, the 4th and inches play, and McCarthy drops back, and they end up only rushing 3.
Yeah.
And he's got all day to sit back there and then delivers a strike for the first down. I mean,
a down the field throw, too.
Yeah, that type of stuff, it's just, it's absolutely maddening. Tape from the locker room brought to you by the all-new National Medal of Honor Museum in Arlington brings the stories of America's greatest heroes to life through virtual experiences and exciting interactive technology. Plan your visit today at mohmuseum.org. Let's try and get back to the phones, your calls and texts. 877-881-1053. Zach Wolchuk alongside the Super Bowl winning scout Bryan brought us in what feels like certainly the end to the Cowboys' playoff hopes after a disappointing home loss against the Vikings. Another thing that, you had a Vikings team that was eliminated, and you had everything to play for. And it just did not feel like a desperate team.
Well, you've had everything to play for the last 2 weeks, and even with you had an extended period, too, where you had a little bit of break, but you'd played all those games, in 4 games in a certain amount of days, and so the break was welcome. But, this was a challenge today. We talked about what a challenge it was going to be having to deal with this defense. It's going to be sad when you're going to sit down and look at this film and, think, well, that's something that they've saw. That's something they've seen before. That's, but with Brian Flores, give him a lot of credit. And but on the defensive side of the ball, though, you made J.J. McCarthy way, way too comfortable in that football game. They should have been, but that's not an MO of Matt Eberflus. That's, the blitz package, just even something a little different. It's hard to do a little different with this football team, especially on defense. It tends to be something that, okay, I might try and dip my toe in the pool and see how it works, and the next thing you know, he goes back to doing stuff where the rushing of 4. And with this quarterback, if you're not getting guys home, if you're watching down after down after down and you're not getting guys home, or you're not finishing in the pocket, you better find a way to bring extra pressure, because that's what Minnesota does.
Yep.
They're not going to let you feel comfortable in that pocket at all.
All right, let's go to line 4. We got our guy Big Jim, who's been waiting patiently. What's going on, Jim?
Well, this is just the biggest disappointment I've seen in a long time. It's bad. I mean, they played uninspired football. Brian, happy birthday this weekend.
Appreciate it. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, I know that. Sorry it was a bad weekend for the Cowboys. Hope you had a good one otherwise. Yeah, I mean, there's no creativity. They're playing like it's. I tell you what, this team you went up against, they prepared all week like they were still alive in the playoffs. Yeah. And they came in here and played like they were going to be alive in the playoffs, and they didn't let the fact that they were eliminated get them. Look, Flus is bad, and I agree with you. I think Schottenheimer's got to do it. But listen, Schottenheimer wasn't good. Schottenheimer ain't been good in 2 weeks.
He wasn't good tonight. I agree with that.
He's come down there quite a bit, and no creativity. Just can't get in the groove. I'm not a big fan of those bunch sets, but boy, tonight it'd have been like a good time to use more of them bunch sets and maybe confuse those defensive backs and stuff. But anyway, listen, appreciate you fellas. And Walchuk, I agree with you. You're right on. I was mad when I called in. I cooled off a little bit. I've been sitting in here with a dog that ate some frijoles earlier today, so I'm having to watch crap on TV and smell stink tonight. But listen, have a good one, fellas, and we'll talk to you later.
Thank you, Jim. We appreciate you. All right, that opens up a line. Let's go to line 5. We got Ron in Cedar Hill. What's up, Ron?
Hey, thank you for taking my call, guys. Just a few things with the playoffs. I mean, we're officially done. I mean, we're allowing way too many points, and I really want to focus on the beginning of the game. We played an uninspired brand of football. I hate that Pickens got a lot of the blame last week, but today, we didn't even give him an opportunity. When we got the interception at the beginning of the game, why not take a shot on 1st and 10 just to see what he can do? So right off the top, we didn't even get him involved in the game. Secondly, Eberflus, he has to go. I mean, we're 0-3-1 against the NFC North. They know his scheme. They know what he does. And I'm an educator. As an educator, you adapt to your students. Hence, Eberflus should adapt to his players. They should not adapt to his scheme. He should make his scheme adapt to them. And at the end of the day, it's just dejecting and disappointing because, you know, I've been watching the NFC East, the Hard Knocks series, and I know that these players put in a lot of work and that Dak is a true leader. And it's just unfortunate that every single year it just seems that for whatever reason, a team can never get on the same page.
Yeah. I appreciate the call, Ron. I mean, it's definitely it's upsetting how poorly they played at the line of scrimmage. That was the area I felt like maybe we turned a corner. You know, when you go through that 3-game winning streak and offensively the big three inside with Tyler, Beebe, and Tyler. You know, those guys to me are maulers. They should be able to fire off the ball and just demolish people. Tyler Smith had to leave the game today for a little bit, got that eye poke. I get it. Tackle, you're hurt. You know, I mean, it's funny now. It's like, gosh, can we get Tyler Guyton back? When Tyler Guyton plays, it's like, gosh, Tyler Guyton's no good, right? Right tackle, we can have a conversation on. But I really thought the interior of both lines, that was trending in a great direction. And they got whooped on both sides of the trenches today. And it happened last week against Detroit as well. 877-881-1053, the number to call, the number to text. We'll get back to the phones. We'll hear from Trayvon Diggs and Dak Prescott as well. You're listening to the Dallas Cowboys Radio Network.
At AT&T, we guarantee our network so you can talk college football with your BFF while taking Buster to the vet.
Hey, yeah, I can't believe he ate the whole thing of chicken wings.
And I can't...
McCarthy postgame show continues. Pepsi, proud sponsor of the Dallas Cowboys. Brought to you by AT&T. Connecting changes everything. Pepsi. Whether tailgating at the stadium or grilling at home, on game day, Cowboys fans deserve Pepsi. Blockchain.com. Invest like your icons with Blockchain.com. The islands of the Bahamas. It's not one island. It's a lifetime of them. And by Miller Lite, the only beer of the Dallas Cowboys.
Prescott gives it to Malik Davis. An easy walk up the middle. Booker with a block. Steele with a block. Walk the dog, Malik Davis. Touchdown, Cowboys.
There you go. That's our drive of the game. And that was the second touchdown drive for the Cowboys. A drive that went 6 plays, 73 yards and 243. They were humming on that one. 19-yard completion to Ryan Flournoy, 30 yards to C.D. Lamb right after that. A couple of good runs from Malik Davis, and he capped it off with that 1-yard touchdown, made it 14-7 Dallas. And that would be the last time that they would see the end zone for the rest of the game, is then it was just Brandon Aubrey field goals or, unfortunately, missed field goals tonight for the Cowboys.
Just like turnovers.
Yep.
I mean, you can say what you want. That turnover says 0 for the Cowboys. Missed field goals, and where they ended up and what the Vikings were able to do with them are just like turnovers.
Yeah, and you had Pete Bursich on in the pregame show of Vikings Radio, and he made the point of, their defense is good enough to keep them in games. Where things have gone wonky is the turnovers on offense.
Right.
And last week they didn't turn the ball over. Well, what happened? They get a big win against Washington. The first drive, the Cowboys are able to force a turnover, but that was it. And you lose by 8. So you miss those 2 field goals. Those were the 2 turnovers. You lose again.
Yep.
Technically, it doesn't show up, but you lost the turnover.
No, I just have always believed anytime, especially when the ball goes to where the miss comes from, just like a turnover. I mean, you're sending a guy out there to try a 58-yard field goal or whatever, and he misses it. You're basically saying, okay, well, here, you're giving him the ball right there. Might as well think of it as a turnover.
All right, let's hear from Trayvon Diggs. Fred Davis, Blake Elliott, our crew able to catch up with him.
Chris Arnold in there,
Chris
too.
Arnold as well, the 3-time Hall of Famer.
Bobby Belt.
Bobby was in there getting audio. Yeah, we got a whole crew doing awesome work here on the official postgame show of your Dallas Cowboys. Here was Diggs after not playing today, and him saying he was healthy and good to go.
I feel good. I feel good enough to play. I practice all week, so I don't know. It's not my decision. It's not my call.
When you see the team lose like they did tonight, does that make it harder for you to watch?
Of course, I want to be out there helping the guys win. So, yeah, it makes it hard to watch because, I feel like, I can contribute and be there. So, it's painful to watch. I want to play.
And there's a big date coming up, December 20th.
Yeah.
It's before they have to make the decision. What are your hopes that they decide before December 20th?
I hope I can play. I hope they decide I can play. I feel good enough to play. So, we just had to see. And at the end of the day, it's not my decision. Me personally, I feel good. I feel healthy. I feel ready. So, just had to wait.
What kind of difference do you think you could make?
A difference?
What kind of a difference do you think you can make from what you've seen?
I feel like I can make a big difference. I feel like I can contribute. I feel like I can help this team win.
Have they communicated anything to you of like, okay, we don't feel like you're healthy because of X, Y, and Z, and these are the pathways you need to overcome or something like that?
One more time?
Like, is there a certain hurdle that they're saying you have to overcome in terms of recovery, or has that been communicated to you?
I don't know the special requirements that I need to show that I can play. I've been in practice. I've been practicing well. Been running around doing what I'm supposed to. So, it's not my decision at the end of the day. So, we just have to wait and see. Come Monday or whenever we go back to practice, just do what I can do to show that I'm ready to play and go from there.
When were you told that you wouldn't play?
Yesterday.
What was your reaction?
I was upset.
Did you communicate that to them?
Yeah, they know.
Do you feel like you need to play at this point? Do you need to play just to show everybody you're fine and you can play at 100% level? So.
Yeah, that would be nice.
Why do you think there's this gap between when we spoke to you on Friday, we thought you were going to play, versus them not activating you?
Going into the week, that was the plan, was for me to play. I was included in the game plan to play. yesterday I was told I wasn't playing, so that's why I thought that I was playing. So, you know, it was a quick decision. You know, I didn't know. I thought I was going to come out here and play, but they felt otherwise, and, you know, that's just what it was.
Dak said the other day that he's talked with you a little bit in the locker room. He's trying to give you some honest feedback. What are some of the things that he's counseled you on, and how helpful is that?
Just staying positive, do everything that I can do, control what I can control. You know, be there for my teammates, show up to work, show up to practice, do everything I can, and just go from there.
There's Trayvon Diggs in the locker room after not playing again today. He's got one more game, the Chargers game. If he's not active then, he is not going to play the rest of the season. The Cowboys will have to have him on IR, I believe is what the rule is, after the 21-day practice window was opened. And you know, after we had heard about the at-home concussion, I didn't necessarily I thought maybe we'd seen the last of Diggs in a Cowboy uniform. But Friday, it seemed like maybe we were getting some positive momentum there, Bryan. And you know, Steven and Jerry, yeah, he's looking better. Diggs said he's healthy, he's ready to play. They made the decision yesterday to hold him out. What are you thinking? Do you think Diggs plays next week, or we're not seeing him again this year?
I don't think you're seeing him again, to be honest with you. I think I think we're in a situation right now, and I could be really wrong about this. I felt like that I was like this guy, like, yeah, he's going to play. Yeah, he's going to play. He wants to show he's got pride, da-da-da-da. And, you know, the more you talk to people in practice and stuff about him is that he is very lackadaisical in the way he practices. He's very ho-hum in the way he practices. You know, and it's a two-way street. I'm hearing this from, a side, that, you know, a front office side, and then he's saying, no, I'm ready to play and all that. And, you know, Clarence Hill had an interesting, tweet this evening. He's like, you can't tell me that Diggs isn't better than Carson, you know, kind of just throwing it out there that way. But, you know, somebody here, and I'm not saying not telling the truth, but somebody here, clearly there is a disconnect. You know, there is if he was serious about doing this, I kind of felt like that maybe that he would have been playing by now. Mm-hmm. And obviously they don't feel like, even the head coach at the podium during the week, when asked about him, says there's things he needs to do. And, you know, I kind of feel like that he's mad at the front office, maybe mad at the coaches, maybe mad at the scheme. And then the front office is probably mad at him for, you know, like the whole thing with the concussion and the ridiculous story, you know, that'll come out and that'll be ridiculous. And everybody go, oh, okay, well, that makes sense, you know. But that's kind of where you're at with this story. It's the whole thing has been ridiculous, you know. Since he's been compensated, he has not been as good of a player. But there's people in the organization who will tell you, well, he's the same player that was missing tackles and not caring and blah, 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 blah. You know, and then his side of the story is, well, I'm practicing, thought I had a good week, you know. Where he thinks he is and where the team thinks he is completely different. And that's why I have my doubts whether he'll play. I think they'll go through this week again. They'll probably determine that he's not good enough or healthy enough or whatever they're going to determine, and then we'll make a decision about that in the spring.
Yeah, I think he's played his last game in a Cowboy uniform, but hey, could be wrong. Maybe he's active.
Oh no, we all could be wrong about that. Yeah,
no doubt. Yeah. A lot. I mean, we could talk more about Diggs. Maybe we will coming up in a little bit. But I do want to try and get as many calls in as possible. Let's go to line 6. Henry in Houston has been waiting patiently. Henry, you're on the official postgame show of the Dallas Cowboys.
Hey guys, thanks for taking my call. Yeah, I've been a Cowboys fan since the late 70s, and all 3 of my boys are Cowboy fans. I made them. And I have to apologize to them almost every year. And I tell them if they want to root for another team, I won't have an issue with that. But also, they should have gone for Al Harris, the former defensive back, or the defensive back coach for the Bears. Maybe that would be a good defensive coordinator for the Cowboys.
I don't think that would happen, sir. I don't think that would happen. I'm sorry, I had to jump in there. I don't think that will happen, but go ahead with your points. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you like that.
Oh, no, it's okay. Well, I mean, it is the season of miracles. No, so what's the latest on Micah Parsons? Is it a torn ACL? I'll hang up and listen.
Yeah, they believe that it's a torn ACL. They'll get confirmation tomorrow when he has more tests done. I mean, it's a shame for the NFL today. You lose Patrick Mahomes and Micah Parsons, two of the best players in all of football, to ACL injuries, which I'm assuming based on it's December, that's probably going to bleed into next season as well.
Sure.
We'll see how those guys recover. But, yeah, that just stinks.
Can I circle back about the Al Harris? I think that one of the reasons there's things about Al Harris, about Diggs, that they blame Al Harris for. I think there were things that I think there was a lot of coddling. And people out there, please, don't kill me. I'm just the messenger here. But from what I was hearing about Al Harris, I don't think everybody in the front office was real happy with Al Harris. But Al Harris has gone on to Chicago. It looks good. You see what their situation is right now. But I don't think Al Harris has a shot to be the defensive coordinator here.
Which is a shame, because you're 100% right on that. But, I mean, for my money, I think right now there's not a better DB's coach in football. I mean, you just look at his track.
Yeah, I mean,
it's unbelievable.
Yeah, if you're, I don't believe you're wrong.
And who knows how he'd be as a defensive coordinator?
Yeah.
But as a DB's coach, gosh, he's fantastic.
I just kind of feel like, though, that when you bring up his name around here, everybody was kind of like, But, hey, this front office, as they're all driving home right now, and they're 6-7-1, they got to kind of look at the situation. They push for a Matt Eberflus. Al Harris looks like he's gone on to do some good things. So, somebody's right here and somebody's wrong, and I'm sure a lot of Cowboy fans feel like the front office is wrong.
Celebrate the Cowboys Christmas extravaganza powered by Reliant at the Star in Frisco from now until the 20th of December. You can join us every Friday and Saturday night for an electrifying holiday performance. For details, visit thestardistrict.com. We'll get back to your calls and texts, 877-881-1053. We'll also hear from Dak Prescott after a 34-26 heartbreaker of a loss at home to the Vikings. Dallas Cowboys football will continue in a moment.
Cowboys fans, here's the game plan. Touchdown Tuesday at Take 5 Oil Change. Just wear your Cowboys gear and save 25% on your oil change. No huddle, no overtime. Just drive in, stay...
meets Frisco, where comfort meets convenience. Call 972-712-7200 to reserve your suite.
Ball spotted on the left hash at the 37, so it's 47 for Aubrey for the first points of the game, following a tipped interception by Quinnen Williams. It's a fake. It's a toss right to Aubrey. Running right to the 30, and he slides for the first down. Slippery Butter runs for the first down. There's the first fake in the Nick Sorensen era, and the first fake the Cowboys have run out of the kicking formation in 2 years.
Wow, what a play that was. That is our What a Play of the game, brought to you by Whataburger and the Salvation Army, doing the most good. Cowboys ran that successful fake field goal with Brandon Aubrey rushing for 6 yards. The last time the Cowboys had a fake field goal attempt was 2001 at Arizona. It was December 23rd of 2001 at Arizona. You were with the team there, Brian.
It was, and Tim Cedar was hurt. Who was kicking for us?
That's a good question. Was it Billy Cundiff?
Would you say 2001?
2001.
It might. I thought Cedar was hurt. I can't remember who was kicking for us that day. I might be totally wrong. It might be 2000, where we had Tim Cedar had a couple of fake field goals.
What a throwback name there.
Yeah,
Tim Cedar.
Like you went down to the Mike Hoffman went down to the Home Depot, and he'd work out 10 people out of the Home Depot, and then one of them would be an all-conference kicker, And Mike Hoffman was amazing, but I think it was Tim Cedar was. I think Tim Cedar got hurt, and then for 8 games.
It was Tim.
Oh, it was Tim.
Yep.
I think we also did a field goal kick in 2000 against. We were playing Arizona in 2000 that we faked a field goal there too, and but it was somebody else that was kicking.
Man, that was the old Sun Devil Stadium.
Yeah.
Dave McGinnis was the head coach of the Cardinals that day.
How about that crap?
That's crazy.
I think Dave McGinnis is doing Tennessee. He's doing the Tennessee Titans football. He's the color commentator.
Wow.
For that.
Wow. So shout out to. It was an awesome flip there from Ryan Anger. And
LSU did that. Yeah, LSU. Les Miles did that LSU versus Florida in a game.
The Mad Hatter.
He threw it over the top of the holder's head. Man, well executed, very well executed.
All right, unfortunately, it's an L. 34-26. Cowboys season going down in flames here. Zach Wolchuk alongside the Super Bowl winning scout Brian Broaddus here in the Miller Lite Field Club. Cowboys 6-7-1. They needed to win out. They needed the Eagles to lose 2. Well, now. Mathematically, technically not eliminated, but it sure feels that way. Let's hear from Dak Prescott after this defeat.
Dak, what were they doing defensively to just keep the lid on it and seem like frustrate your offense?
Yeah, the zero that we talked about just throughout the week gave it to us a bunch. We didn't have a good enough answer, and when you don't have a good enough answer for that, especially against Flores, you're going to see it again and again. And yeah, that's what happened. They did a great job of the back end, right, playing with vision. So it made it tough to get to the beaters, normal zero beaters when they're playing man, looking at the man, but they're looking at the quarterback. And so, they're going to rally when you throw it underneath, and, you don't have time to get it past them. And they did a good job. They kept it on us, and we didn't adjust fast enough or come up with something good enough to scare them out of it. And we saw it the whole game.
You talked earlier this week about having to win out to give yourself a chance to make the playoffs. What's the goal now?
No, we've got it's professionals. You're a professional football player. You got to come to work and give your absolute best, regardless. Unfortunately, I'm sure the playoffs are out of the picture, but it's about taking pride in who you are as a man, and not only that, in your job and everything that's gotten you to this point. I know for a lot of guys and just the business of the world, right? That's interviews for some people. You can't just give up. You can't just stop. You can't just say, "Oh, we're not going to playoffs." It's the National Football League. I just saw a team Thursday night, that's not going to playoffs, beat a good team and knock them out. And so we've got to show up and just do our job. We got to show up and do our job, and that starts throughout the week. And when you get to the game days, it's a celebration of the hard work that you've put in through your preparation. So nothing's going to change for me, and that's going to be my influence as a leader. My message to anybody around me is taking pride in who you are as a man and who you are as a football player, and the job responsibility that you have. And what that entails is giving your best every day. And if you don't,
probably won't be in this league for long.
Dak, Todd Archer with ESPN. You leave here after Thanksgiving, beating the Chiefs, and now here you are back under 500. Can you just talk about the range of emotions here in the last how many days that's been?
Yeah, I mean, shitty at this point. Hard to even go back to those highs, but yeah, I mean, you beat two good teams, beat the two Super Bowl teams here, and a matter of 9 days, something like that, and then you go on the road and have to play a really good team, and they got the better end of us last week. And as I said, if we played that game 10 times, it might be 5-5 or 6-4. Who knows? Who knows which way? That's kind of that matchup last week, and we didn't do the things necessary to win, didn't score in the red zone, and come into this game and we couldn't get an answer for cover 0, and we didn't score in the red zone.
All right, there is Dak Prescott, and absolutely, he's right when it comes to professionals. They're not. I know fans are going to say, "Hey, I'd rather lose out. I'd rather get the better draft pick."
Yeah,
they don't feel that way.
No,
I mean that's the difference between the pros and the fans. I get. Yeah. I get that fan perspective, but they're going to their livelihoods on the line.
Yeah, this is the thing that I always fought with myself when I first started in media, and everybody's like, you need to lose out. And you're not thinking that. You're thinking like the Jets are thinking about winning all their games. Everybody, Arizona's trying to, there's nothing better than trying to win an NFL game. And when you get it done, it's, there is a certain amount of professionalism and pride and all that. Fans are like, fans are reaching out to you and I about draft coverage already, and we'll get to that. But right now, they're not thinking about that. But, it's funny. I went back and looked. Would you like to know what defensive grouping that the Vikings played the most in this game?
Yeah.
They played 2 down linemen, 4 linebackers, and 5 defensive backs.
That would probably explain why there was 11 players that got a pressure.
Yeah.
Because he's sending a bunch of different DBs and linebackers.
Exactly. He played 38 snaps, which was 55% of the plays. Gave up 229 yards, 6 yards of play, no touchdowns. But success rate of 58%. That grouping. He didn't play a lot. He usually doesn't play a lot of nickel, but he took the one defensive lineman off and then added another linebacker and then went with another defensive back. And
it's very difficult because he's crowding the line and he's sending more than you have to block, but then you also don't know who's actually going to end, who's coming for sure, right? Who's going to drop into coverage, who's going to sink. And Dak's got to be – I mean, it is. Brian Flores, that's a playoff caliber defense. They just haven't had the quarterback play this year, or else that's a super talented roster on the other side. It's just a shame they didn't have their starting left tackle, and the Cowboys just couldn't get any pressure.
Skull played left tackle that whole game, and he has been a liability. And he gave up no pressures today.
That's been a common thread this year.
Yeah.
When we talk about offensive lines that are down players or are wounded, and the Cowboys just don't have the horses to be able to take advantage. All right, let's get back to the phone lines, 877-881-1053. After a Cowboys loss here at home, Zach Wolchuk, Brian Broaddus, Miller Lite Field Club on the official Pepsi postgame show of your Dallas Cowboys. Clint in Dallas on line 8. Clint, what's up?
Yeah, guys. There's just so many things with this team all year long that just keep happening. Personally, in my opinion, I know that I listen to you guys every day, so I understand the continuity thing about a defense corner, but I think tonight was the death knell for Eberflus. I'm repeat myself what people say, but he's one of these guys that's, well, this is my system, and you have to run my system. Well, I don't have a guy who makes brisket cook me a French meal, and I don't have a French, chef try to barbecue me a steak. You have to. The players you have is what you use to their abilities, to their strengths. And these players obviously aren't comfortable playing in this system. Now, some of it also is that there's a talent deficiency. Another thing, this team is not physical at all. There is nobody that meets somebody in the hole, and even when somebody does, the running back falls forward. Nobody ever hits anybody and they go backward. Now, they catch them in the back and make the tackle right there, but I'm saying hitting. There's no fear of going over the middle. If you're a fantasy football player, just start whatever quarterback the Cowboys are playing. Because it doesn't matter if the guy is struggling, he's going to put up numbers. He just will. the play calling. Everybody is sitting on this slant now. You slanted the heck out of everybody for 5 weeks with Pickens. Excuse me, Shotty, slant and go early in the game. Maybe try it once and never tried. I understand the point of also these blitzes, but you know that Flores does that. Broadus talked about it all week about the cross dog blitz. They acted like they've never seen it, like they had no idea this was coming, like there was some new nuance that who is Brian Flores and what is this wizardry that he's doing? And then it's bad that we have to say, oh, man, we really miss Tyler Guyton, who, like you guys said earlier, when he's in the game, we complain when he's there, but he's obviously better than what they had. And Steele's got to go, too. There's too many holes with this team, and that goes back always to the front office. Right tackle, corner, safety, a physical, imposing linebacker, speed in the linebacker, an edge rusher who can get after it. Yes, the interior defensive linemen are good. The 3 guys we got are good. But there's nobody out there on the edge that's just going to make a difference in the game. They don't fill their holes. And as we all know, when they go shopping in free agency, they tell you, well, we're very active in free agency. Yeah, you're active like at Christmas time when people go shopping at Ross or Burlington. You go to the bottom of the sales rack to get things. Their favorite thing to do is go get guys that have injury history. So that way, if they come back from the industry, and Jerry looks like he's a genius for getting that guy. And I know I'm ranting and going and not letting you guys answer, but it's just so frustrating with this team because you know that there's something there.
No, you're right, Clint. You're absolutely right. I think Brian wants to ask you something.
No, I'm good. I just wanted to say there's a béarnaise sauce that some French chefs make that goes really good with steaks. So if you ever need a French chef to cook you a steak, have him do a béarnaise sauce with it. It works out really, really well.
Brian does come with usually tremendous food takes outside of the cheesecake stuff. Appreciate the call there, Clint. Really, really, you nailed a lot of points there, man. I appreciate it. We will get back to your calls coming up on the other side. We'll have our defensive stand of the game as well. Dallas Cowboys football will continue in a moment.
You hear that? That's the sound of Pepsi Zero Sugar. The better...
Dallas, Texas.
So 2nd and 4. Shotgun and McCarthy back and looking to his right. The pass is blocked at the line of scrimmage. Was that picked off on the deflection? It sure was. And the Cowboys have a takeaway, and it's Big Q, Quinnen Williams, who comes away with the football. And the defense has provided the first spark of the game.
Man, if we could have just bottled that and carried it in for the rest of the 58 minutes or whatever it was, as that was the opening drive, second play of the game. Cowboys send pressure. Donovan Wilson off the edge, tips the ball in the air, and a thick pick. Big Q, Quinnen Williams, his first career interception. Cowboys got the football there at the Minnesota 38. And then the first 3 plays for them were pretty gross. They end up doing the fake field goal, and then they're able to finish off with a Javonte Williams touchdown. But that was our defensive stop of the game, brought to you by WinStar as the casino of the Dallas Cowboys. WinStar delivers thrills worthy of America's team. With over 10,000 of your favorite electronic games, the 2-story WinStar Spa and Cascades, their luxury pool complex. WinStar is a world of wow. Please game responsibly. 34-26. Vikings, though, come back. They beat the Cowboys, send them to 6-7-1. Cowboys now technically with a 1% chance to make the playoffs. But that is kaput, Brian Broaddus.
Yeah.
It is. They just absolutely crushed their hopes and dreams.
No, the last 2 weeks they have.
They did it again.
And so now it turns into, and Dak is right about going out and playing with pride and going out and trying to finish the season on a high note. If all of a sudden you're in a situation where you're 9-7-1, that's considered when you look at Bryan Schottenheimer, first-year head coach, trying to kind of, get some credibility within the room. I think there's some things he's navigated very, very well. I think there's some things he struggled with on the field. But, you're talking about a first-year head coach, so much better than being first-year head coach Kellen Moore, even though they got a win today against Carolina. But, being like a 4-13 coach. And then, your credibility with the players when they ask, when you try and implement stuff and the buy-in. That's what you want that first year. You want buy-in to the program and move on from the guys that don't want to buy in. That's kind of where we're at right now. We'll see what the situation with Diggs is and all that. Can I run through some numbers real quick for you? We talked about the Vikings and what they did, some of their tendencies when it came to their defensive game plan. They blitzed you 46% of the time tonight. They got pressure on you 51% of the time tonight. There's a stat they call the hurry rate. They got that. That was at 51% tonight. They played man coverage 22%, zone coverage 78%. They played single high 19%. Single high is that single safety in the middle of the field. They played split safety 61% of the time. So their answer, I think, you were asking me when we watch tape tomorrow, what's Diggs? What's obviously playing cover 2.
Yeah.
You're not going to give up the inside stuff. You're going to be able to bracket. Mm-hmm. You're going to be able to bracket, say, guys like Pickens and take care of maybe some of the seam stuff that Dallas wants to do. So for them to play 61% of the time it's split safety, I think that was the answer of how to kind of take George Pickens and CD out of this game. They played the cover 0, which Dak was talking about.
Yeah.
They played that like 19% of the time. They only ran that 8 times. So they had 8 snaps where they ran a no safety in the middle of the field, basically a man coverage across the board with a blitz look. They played their base defense 42% of the time, nickel 55% of the time. Now, that's something that they had not done. That's something that maybe, you saw some teams like last week with the Lions. What did the Lions do? They hadn't played much zone.
Right, they changed it up.
I think teams are adapting to Shoddy right now.
Well,
because
those are good coaches.
Yeah, because you
adjust.
You don't see the Vikings play a lot of nickel. Matter of fact, them and the Jets, and I think the Raiders are in that too. Lions play more nickel play more base defense than they do nickel. So these are adjustments that teams are making on you.
Wow. And the Cowboys really, I thought, failed to make those necessary adjustments.
Yeah.
I mean, the pressure, they blitzed McCarthy 5 times in the first half.
Yeah.
1 in the second half, 6 total blitzes in his 24 pass attempts.
Yeah, here you go. I've got the blitz rate for the Cowboys. Blitz rate was 7. They had 52 defensive plays they defended. Blitz went 7 times, as you mentioned. That was about 25.9%. The pressure rate was at 22.2. They were at 50% pressure rate, and you were at 22.2. Hurry rate was only 18.5. Man coverage only 44%. Zone coverage 55%. You played single high and split safety 12 snaps each, so right at 44%. You played single high, and then with the split safety, you played cover 0. The blitz look 3 snaps. You were in your base 27 snaps, and your nickel 24 those snaps. So, that's kind of where you're at with the way your looks were for today in this game.
All right, let's try and knock out a couple more of these calls. We'll have one more segment to go after this one, put a bow on it, and look ahead to the Chargers. Let's go to line 9, Akeem in Frisco, who's been waiting patiently. Akeem, you're on the Pepsi postgame show. Akeem? All right, let's go to line 10. We've got Ron in Arlington. Ron, how are you?
Ron.
Do we have Ron?
Ron, I hear you.
You can kind of hear Ron. Ron might not be able to hear us.
Ron might not be listening to his phone. He's got us on hold.
Oh, okay, Peyton's telling us, hold on one second.
He's yelling at Ron right now.
We can try and get back to Ron. Let's flip back over. We can hit line 1 here, 877-881-1053. We got Ron?
Ron. Matt.
Let's hit Matt in Cali. Oh, Matt calling in from Cali. How you doing,
Yes,
man?
sir. Mr. Broadus, both of you guys, thank you for having the show. I really enjoy the show. Mr. Broadus, I watched and listened to all the content that you put out. And it seems like Cowboys need to start listening to you, man, if you have any insight, because exactly what you and Bach said this week was going to happen is exactly what the Minnesota defense did. And my first comment was, you got McCarthy back there. He's basically a rookie quarterback. I would have done exactly what the Minnesota defense did to the Cowboys. I would have blitzed him every opportunity that we had. We've seen what happened when we blitzed him on the first series. He throws an interception.
Right.
You know what I mean? You got to make him make quick decisions. Anybody that sits back in the pocket, just like you pointed out the numbers, he tore us apart. We made him look like an all-pro quarterback. And then my other question, and then I had a quick comment, and then I'll just listen, is we didn't even try to throw one slant to Pickens. And that is very disheartening. And then my last comment is, been a Cowboy fan since the 70s, and we went from winning Super Bowls, making it to the playoffs, and losing in the first round, to teetering on even making the playoffs and not even making the playoffs. And just like the gentleman earlier said, this is really hard to explain to our kids. My kid sits back and goes, why did you pick me to be a Cowboys fan? Because his heart's all in it, too. And it's hard to explain sometimes. It really is.
Yeah, it sucks, Matt. It does. But, hey, we're Cowboy fans.
I think they threw one slant to Pickens, and it was knocked down.
I think they did a good job. They weren't going to let you beat.
I think there was one that I saw, but the cover 2, the split safeties.
The problem is they got to find a way to beat that because it's a copycat league.
Well, the slant and the slant and go.
Slant and go, like our caller said earlier. Yeah. I mean, again, adjustments. All right, let's try and we got Phil calling in from Virginia. Phil, how are you?
Well, disappointed. Thank you for taking my call from Norfolk, Virginia, where my dad raised me since 1967 on Tom Landry and the Dallas Cowboys. God rest his soul. Over the past 15 years, he hasn't had to watch this garbage. Here's my point about this game. This game was lost on the second possession, the second Minnesota possession, when that idiot, and when I'm so angry, I can't think straight sometimes. I don't recall his name. When the idiot commits the horse collar out of bounds, setting him up for a tied touchdown, and Schottenheimer allows him to continue on the field.
Don't cuss. Don't cuss.
I'm not. But, dude, I'm sick and tired of we have beautiful cheerleaders. We got a whole bunch of them. I'm tired of them as head coaches. How do you allow a guy in this important of a game to stay on the field after that stupid of a play? There has to be accountability. We haven't had that since Jimmy Johnson.
No, thank you for the call, Phil. I think you're seeing, I will say, the accountability is Diggs isn't suiting up, in my opinion.
Yeah.
The accountability is when Pickens and Lamb don't start a game. I do think Shotty's taken steps forward that other coaches have not done when it comes to accountability and trying to change the culture. They don't have a lot of options in the secondary. So I don't know. I mean, I get the frustration there. It's one penalty. Honestly, Reddy Stewart's been one of your better DBs. So it's frustrating, 100%. I don't think the game was won or lost on that one single play. It was a 14-14 ball game. But I get the frustration. It was a silly penalty. All right, last call here. Let's go to Tony in Bedford. Tony, you're on the official postgame show of the Dallas Cowboys. Tony.
Yes, I want to, thank Zach and thank Bryan for taking my call this evening.
Sure.
I just, I don't have a trained NFL eye. I'll leave that to the 3-time Super Bowl winner, Mr. Bryan Broaddus. But it's just hard to believe that when you come into this is kind of a broader view. I feel like in all reality, it takes a full team to win a game, and it takes a full team to lose a game. Mm-hmm. But my perspective for more of a broader range is, with the front office, as a longtime Cowboy fan since the 90s, the reality is we are subject to, the decisions of the front office. Sure. And basically when it comes to, I like the fact that they took someone from the coaching tree of, Mike McCarthy and the offenses of past that were great offenses. But then when you get to the defense, I heard Bryan, speak earlier in the broadcast that when he mentioned the name Al Harris, the reactions that he got, and, thinking on a deeper level, which I mean, hey, I'm just a fan, right? But why are we having those, why do you have that type of energy when you mention Al Harris's name, when you look at the stars on this secondary, on our defense? He was basically part of the architect of that, right, with Dan Quinn. So when it comes to the front office, we've had, three coordinator changes in the last 3 seasons?
Yeah, no, I appreciate the call. We're just up against it, man. Don't want to push you short, but yeah, I mean, I think Al Harris.
Do you find it interesting that Al Harris didn't go with Dan Quinn?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean,
I don't know what
did
this
elevate his position to keep him here.
Yeah.
So I think he would have. The Cowboys, I believe, gave him some type of job raise to where it wouldn't have been, and it would have been a lateral move, right?
Yeah.
So they made sure to keep him, and then obviously after the new coaching change, that's when he leaves and goes to Chicago.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think putting all of Diggs on Al Harris is probably unfair to Al Harris. I think Diggs is a grown man.
Yeah.
Maybe he did not handle Diggs well, and I can understand that frustration. But I think the bottom line is Al Harris is a hell of a DB coach. I don't know. We'll see if he gets a DC.
Yeah, I mean, hey, what we're just doing is telling you what
we're hearing.
And you could take it as, hey, right or wrong. I don't care. I'm just telling you when you bring up the name, it's like, nah. You know, but, hey, they're also wrong, too. So, take the good with the bad here.
All right, 34-27, Vikings ruin the Cowboys season. We'll put a bow on this one. You're listening to the Dallas Cowboys Radio Network.
Cowboys fans, here's the game plan. Touchdown Tuesday at Take 5 Oil Change. Just
Turf, the official ag and turf equipment supplier of the Dallas Cowboys. American Airlines, proud to be the official airline of your Dallas Cowboys. Ford, your Texas Ford dealers. Ford is the best in Texas. And by DallasCowboys.com. Keep track of the boys with daily podcasts at DallasCowboys.com and on the official Dallas Cowboys app.
They got a tight end in motion. Prescott gives it to Williams, plunging at right guard, touchdown, Cowboys. Brevin span forward, Poldak got a block. Beebe got a block, Booker got a block, Williams got a touchdown.
There is our player of the game. It is Javonte Williams, who fought through an injury, left the game, came back after Hunter Lipke was knocked out with a concussion. He finished with 91 yards rushing and a touchdown on 15 carries, averaging over 6 yards a carry. Javonte Williams now 10 rushing touchdowns this year. That's the most by a Cowboy since Zeke had 10 in 2021, and he has had at least 80 yards now in 8 games this season, second most such games in the league behind only James Cook. That's pretty impressive, especially since those Cowboys rushing success numbers, as Eric likes to tell us, have not been pretty good.
Not been bueno.
Not been great, but he keeps plugging away. 34-26, Vikings beat the Cowboys as we put a bow on this one. Cowboys, as I mentioned, now down to a 1% chance to make the playoffs, but it's very unlikely. They'd need the Eagles, I think, to lose out. They'd have to win out, and the Eagles play Washington twice in Buffalo. So the likelihood of that happening, it's slim to none. It's not happening. Shout out to CeeDee Lamb. He had over 100 yards again tonight. I don't think people realize just how really consistent and awesome CeeDee's been. I know the Eagles games were tough, but CeeDee, other than JSN, has the most 100-yard games in all of the league. Him and Jamar Chase, along with Jackson Smith and Jigba, Rockwall's own. But disappointing one tonight. Zach Wolchuk, alongside the Super Bowl winning scout Bryan, brought us here at the Miller Lite Field Club. Tonight's game between the Vikings and the Cowboys at AT&T Stadium was brought to you by Bank of America. Bank of America, what would you like the power to do? Shout out to Peyton Russell, Jet Nelson, Dylan Moore, Trevor Beck, of course, back in Mash Control, Douglas Barraclaw in Frisco at the Star, always doing a tremendous job. Thank you to you, my friend, to Ramon Cruz as well, always kicking ass and taking names. We'll be back 9 a.m. pregame against the Chargers. I'm Zach Wolchuk. Until then, hugs and hand pounds, everybody. Dallas Cowboys football will continue in a moment.
Hey, you know having a game plan to stay healthy this season shouldn't be complicated, right? Yeah. That's why Baylor Scott & White Health makes it easy to get